morning, sir.
You are done? Morning, how are you? Good morning.
Morning, sir.
If it's not something that you
Why did I do the meeting again?
Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, members of Council. Yellow. Yellow.
Yes, sir.
So I've just finished the meeting of the National Security Council. You know what transpired at the meeting?
Well, quite a lot of things have transferred. In particular, we talked about the Anambra governorship elections, which is coming up on the 6th of November this year. And we want to assure the people of Anambra State and indeed all Nigerians that the government is committed to conducting those elections and it has to be free and fair. We are going to put every machinery in place to ensure that people are well secured, and we are going to dominate the place to ensure that this place is calm and quiet to provide for a free and fair elections, and that is the only way to ensure that we promote democracy and good governance in this country. Yes.
What other things have we discussed?
Well, we discuss generally the security matters that as they apply to other states of the Federation, and the general assessment is that the situation is improving, even though the challenging issues are still very potent, but by and large, progress is being made in the area of maintenance of peace and security in the country.
Yes, security is moving from Zamfara to Katsina. What are you doing about that?
Well, we looked at that, and the reports coming in are indicating that even though the bandits are there, but they are moving towards areas where there are communications that they can talk to people. But the situation is improving even in those areas. Of course, the situation is still not as good as we expect it to be, but we are on top of the situation.
Back to Anambra, don't you think the massive deployment of security agencies may deter voters from coming out to vote?
No. The intention is to ensure people who are starting right away, so that to give people confidence that they are well protected from these IPOB people. People are not coming out because of the threats by IPOB. And as long as we try to dominate the area, IPOB will have no place to maneuver, and we will take charge of the place to ensure that there is peace, there is tranquility in the area to allow for free and fair elections.
Marching order from the president to the service chiefs and others.
The president has continued to give the security agencies the go-ahead to deal with these bandits in the best way they understand. So he has given them all the support, and he has assured them that he is behind them. Anybody caught using arms that are not supposed to be used by him, it should be dealt with appropriately.
What do you mean in dealing with them in the best way they understand?
Yeah, I mean they should be dealt with according to the law. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what do you want Nigerians to know about this latest meeting of the National Security Council?
Today's meeting of the National Security Council focused its attention on several issues, primarily the elections in Anambra State, which will be held on the 6th of November. Council observed recent trends in which a lot of violent activities have been taking place, and Council is desirous of seeing hitch-free election being conducted by next month. Now the problem here is that in as much as the government wants to conduct peaceful elections, there are non-state actors who have been heating up the polity, who have made all kinds of attempts to stymie orderly elections for next month. The president has directed that under no circumstances will anything be allowed to stop the elections from taking place successfully. The people have a right to vote. They have a right to select their leader, and no group or individual will be allowed to stimulate anarchy and chaos leading to murderous activities. The president has made it very, very clear that the armed forces, security agencies, and law enforcement agencies must make sure that the elections take place. If it means overwhelming the entire environment with the presence of security agencies, there are so many implications for elections to be sabotaged by non-state actors. In the first place, we're in a democracy. Secondly, it is important to note that if these non-state actors should succeed in destroying the potentials for orderly elections, then it is natural that other parts of the country will also want to copy this situation. Secondly, it's not something that President Buhari will even contemplate, a situation in which he's boxed into a corner. The mere thought that a group of non-state actors want to portray his government as not being able to be firm is totally out of the question. The tail cannot wag the dog. It is totally unacceptable. And again, we in the security and intelligence community have been trying as much as possible to talk with the leadership in the Southeast to make them aware of the fact that President Buhari is not averse to the aspirations of the people of the Southeast, so long as whatever they desire to achieve, they do it through the normal prescribed manner, either legislative, legal, or whatever, for as long as it is within the confines of legitimacy. President Buhari does not have a problem with that. But any action that is outlandish, any action that typifies roguery, the usurpation of the authority of the state, is not going to be tolerated. Again, we're also mindful of the fact that Nigerians, being what they are, also need to understand that if these non-state actors should go out on a limb and extend the frontiers of violence and begin to kill people, there is a possibility that reprisal attacks can take place in other parts of the country, which is what we do not want to happen. So we're working with the community leaders, with the governors and everybody to ensure that they bring their people, restrain them on the leash. So that is one aspect that was discussed during the meeting. Other aspects basically have to do with the current state of security in the country and the sub-region. Of course, the armed forces and the security agencies have done so much in the last couple of months. But let me say clearly, in the last 6 months, they've been able to record a lot of successes. Now, the issue here is that it's not very easy for the wider society to appreciate the successes being recorded by the armed forces, because there will definitely be incidents of misadventure. This is a symmetric conflict. It's not like the normal conventional war in which territories are won, you grapple with the enemy, you defeat him, and you move on. Here we have the enemy embedded in society, coming from all parts. And like I once said, someone had remarked after the Brighton bombing of 1984 that the difference between the terrorist or the criminal and the state is that it only takes one act for the terrorists to succeed and gain a lot of publicity. But for the armed forces, for the government and its agencies, you have to succeed on every occasion. Otherwise, after 12 successes, if you fail or you have a problem on the 13th occasion, nobody wants to know. So this is the situation with which we are faced. But nevertheless, I'll just highlight that the Chief of Defense Staff, service chiefs, and the intelligence heads briefed council. And I can tell you that for the land forces, they've recorded a lot of successes in the last 2 months. We've had a steady increase in the number of returnees, both combatants and non-combatants, from the theater of operation, both from the Islamic State West Africa province and the Boko Haram enclaves. Now what has happened is we're now having to contend with 15,852 returnees. This in its own case is accompanied by problems, humanitarian problems, problems of logistics, problems of profiling each and everyone, because we are not just interested in profiling the ex-combatants, we are also interested in profiling those people who are assumed to be non-combatants, who may have reached out and assisted the terrorists in one way or the other. Now, the fact again is that the armed forces, the land forces, have done an excellent job, because in the span of 1 month, we've been able to take out the leadership of the Islamic State West Africa province, that is Abu Musab al-Barnawi. 2 days ago, the man who succeeded him, one Malam Bako, who is also the one of the prominent leaders of the Shura Council of the Islamic State West Africa province, was also taken out, which means basically Shekau is out, Abu al-Barnawi is out, now Malam Bako is out. They are also contending with leadership, and you know these things are also accompanied by a lot of inherent issues of trust, conflict, mutual suspicion, and other things. So the operations being conducted by the armed forces in the northern part of the country, that is operations Thunder Strike, Operation Hadarin Daji, Operation Gamma Aiki, Operation Dukan Guduma, all these, if you aggregate these operations, they've put a lot of pressure on the leadership of the Islamic State West Africa province, Boko Haram, and also the tangential group known as Islamic State in the Greater Sahara. Now the successes of the land forces have also been reinforced by the activities of the Air Force. The Air Force has carried out a lot of interdiction missions, and so far the number of missions they've carried out have yielded a lot of successes, especially in supporting other operations like the operations in the North Central, Operation Safe Haven in the Plateau, then Operation World Stroke in Benue, Taraba and Nasarawa states, while at the same time they've also supported operations in the southeast, Operation Golden Dawn, and in the south-south, Operation Delta Safe. And for the Nigerian Navy, it has not experienced the type of success it has experienced in the last 6 months. I can tell you on authority that the Nigerian Navy, under the leadership of the Chief of the Naval Staff, has recorded so much success in the maritime domain. What it has done in the last 6 months is to deploy its maritime domain awareness capabilities or assets to deal with the situation in the maritime domain, that is using the Falcon Eye and using the regional maritime awareness capability. What this has resulted in is that in the last quarter, the third quarter of this year, there has not been a single incident of piracy or sea robbery in our entire maritime domain. This has been acknowledged not just by our own governmental services, but by the International Maritime Bureau. On the 14th of July, they sent out a dispatch in which the dispatch stated that in the last 27 years, the entire international community, the maritime community, has not experienced the type of success that has been recorded by the Nigerian Navy. And this was also endorsed by the Defense Web on the 16th of October in another dispatch. So you can see, and again, to buttress my point, the Nigerian Navy has also been able to re-establish the presence of the military in the Lake Chad area, which has been abandoned for a long time. Not only have they re-established the presence of our military elements, but they've also reactivated the Fisheries, College of Fisheries in Baga. So you can see that the Army, Navy, Air Force, the entire armed forces have been doing a very tremendous job and being supported by the intelligence services. Only 2 days ago, the DSS was able to apprehend and take in the successor of the notorious gangster in Benue State known as Ghana. So his own successor, whose name is Chekere Kefas Andofa, has been arrested. His other name is Azonto. And as soon as he was apprehended by the DSS, his own successor was arrested also about 16 hours ago. So you can see that despite all the challenges we're having, the armed forces and the intelligence agencies have been able to find a way to work in synergy, to link together, work harmoniously to ensure that we have greater success in the theater of operation. Of course, President Buhari, in as much as he's satisfied with the actions of our defense and security forces, has also urged them not to relent. You know, of course, as a retired general, he knows that in operations there will always be lulls. Sometimes victory begets, other issues like complacency, lethargy, and other things, but he has stated clearly that we must bring this thing to an end, working, of course, in partnership with our regional colleagues.
The new theater award seems to be Nigerian Rail Services. We have seen an attack yesterday night What effort are you going to make to ensure that the asset has been saved?
Well, efforts right now are underway. As you already know, yesterday the president had an important visitor, the president of Turkey. Just like he's had discussions with the president of Turkey, he's had discussions with other leaders on how we can share intelligence and acquire technical capabilities to deal with these emerging threats. So it is basically a matter of looking at where we can get equipment and assets to deal with these threats.
It's okay, sir.